Insta360 makes excellent action cameras. These include not only the new Ace Pro, but also the super handy and lightweight Go3 or the X3, which is still the best 360 camera in the consumer segment today. If you are looking for an action camera or a good travel camera, then one of these three cameras is the perfect choice for you. But which one? Let's find out in this video. First, I'll show you which special features and strengths each of the three cameras has compared to the other two, but also what weaknesses each camera has. We'll also take a look at some comparison shots. And to make your choice a little easier, at the end of the video I've created 5 categories of users and will assign the ideal camera to each category. Let's start with the Ace Pro. What makes it special and what are its major strengths compared to the Go3 and the X3? The greatest strength of the Ace Pro is certainly its outstanding image quality. The Ace Pro for an action camera has a relatively large 1/1.3" sensor and a very fast 5nm chip. The image sensors of the Go3 and X3 are significantly smaller in comparison. And even if the size of the image sensor is not the only factor that influences the image quality, it is definitely very important. The 4K image of the Ace Pro is very detailed and has an excellent dynamic range. In addition, at a frame rate of up to 30 frames per second, the HDR mode is automatically activated. And the HDR mode on the Ace Pro has been fantastically integrated into the standard video mode. Burned out highlights are consistently prevented, but the image still has sufficient contrast and never has that unrealistic HDR look. It is true that the X3 also has an HDR mode, but this is a separate shooting mode that cannot be compared with the HDR feature of the Ace Pro and also has disadvantages in terms of image quality. The Ace Pro's large sensor also allows for very good image quality in low light conditions. The Ace Pro has its own recording mode for low light shots, pure video, which provides particularly noise-free results. Especially in low light, the image quality of the Ace Pro is clearly superior to the other two cameras. And the Ace Pro is also the first high-quality action camera that can shoot in 8K, even if 8K is only available in 24 frames per second, and the 8K mode does not only have advantages, it is of course something special to be able to take high-quality shots in this resolution. With the clarity zoom, the Ace Pro has a 2x zoom feature, which is a digital crop. However, the high-resolution 48 megapixel sensor enables a zoom that only leads to a slight reduction in image quality. But the good image quality is not the only strength of the Ace Pro. Just like the Go3, it has a foldable display, which is a great advantage when filming yourself. And the new fast processor makes a variety of AI features possible. The AI Highlights Assistant, for example, enables the camera to recognize important subjects in the image directly during recording, allowing important moments to be marked and memorized immediately. This greatly improves and facilitates the automatic creation of an edit and saves you a lot of work. Does the Ace Pro also have disadvantages? Yes, because at $450 it is the most expensive of the three cameras in this comparison. By the way, you can find links to all three cameras in the video description. Since its release, there has also been a lot of discussion about the fact that the lens cover of the Ace Pro is not removable and therefore cannot be replaced by the user. It's true, this is a disadvantage. Insta360 is aware of this and will replace a scratched or damaged lens cover free of charge within 1 year of purchase. You only have to pay the shipping costs. And a fixed lens cover also has an advantage. Moisture can hardly get behind the cover. Anyone who has ever used an action camera, for example a GoPro, in cold water, will have noticed that the lens cover can fog up quickly if there is a large temperature difference. A removable lens cover, therefore, does not only have advantages. Let's take a look at the Go3. What are the major strengths of this mini action camera? I think that's relatively clear. The great thing about the Go3 is of course its small form factor. But not only that, the whole concept of the Go3 and the combination with the action pod is very well thought out and makes the small Go3 an extremely versatile camera. The Go3 is not only extremely small, it also has magnets on the back and can therefore be attached to metallic surfaces without an additional mount. It also has a locking mechanism that allows it to be quickly attached to other magnetic mounts. Yes, even the Ace Pro has a magnetic mount, but no camera can be attached as easily and offers as many mounting options as the Go3. This also has to do with the many mounts and accessories that Insta360 offers for the Go3. Pivot stand, easy clip, magnet pendant and so on. And the overall concept of the Action Pod is simply brilliant. The Action Pod is not only the charging station for the Go3, you can also use it as a remote control with an integrated display for the Go3. And of course, you can also mount the Go3 in the Action Pod and use it like a standard action camera, which then has a flip-up display just like the Ace Pro. The Go 3 also has another very special feature. Not only does it have a surprisingly wide field of view, it also has a square sensor. If you take shots in free-frame video mode, you can decide completely freely and without additional cropping whether you want to use the shot in a vertical or horizontal format. The Go 3 is therefore unbeatable in terms of flexibility. However, the small form factor and small image sensor of the Go 3 naturally also lead to disadvantages, especially in comparison to the Ace Pro. The Go 3 cannot quite keep up with its big brother in terms of image quality. The highest possible resolution of the Go 3 is 2.7K. 4K is not available, and high frame rates for slow motion are only available in 1080. I can give the all clear for overheating and battery life. The Go 3 has no problem with overheating, and if you use it in the action pod, you can shoot for 1 hour and 40 minutes until the battery runs out. Another thing you should know about the Go 3 is that the battery and the memory are both fixed. This has to do with the concept of the Go 3, but you should know that you can neither replace the battery nor change the SD card. Although you can of course download the recordings to your smartphone when traveling. I would say that Insta360's most successful and best known camera is the X3, and for good reason. In the consumer segment, it's definitely the best 360 camera you can buy. But what makes this camera so special? Unlike the Ace Pro and the Go 3, it has 2 image sensors and 2 lenses. In other words, 2 cameras. The images from the 2 cameras are then merged into a single 360 image. And this has 3 decisive advantages. You can take 360 shots with the X3, in which you can look around freely. Or you can take a 360 shot, not have to worry about the framing, and can then freely select the framing in post, and then export a normal video clip in a standard format from your shot. This means that although you end up with a standard video clip, you have complete freedom in the choice of the framing. The third advantage of the X3 is that the selfie stick automatically disappears from the image. Yes, it's true, this also works with the Ace Pro, but in the case of the Ace Pro, it's a completely artificial and digital effect, as if you were removing the selfie stick from the image in Photoshop. The effect has to be applied to each clip individually in the app, and depending on the shot, you can still see where the selfie stick has been removed. The situation is different with the X3. Here the selfie stick is automatically removed and the result is significantly better. This is mainly made possible by the overlapping images of the 2 extremely wide lenses. And the reframing and the invisible selfie stick effect in combination with the many mounts for the X3 enable very special and creative shots that are only possible in this form with a 360 camera. If this freedom and the creative shooting angles appeal to you, the X3 is the camera of choice. However, the X3 also has disadvantages compared to the Ace Pro. It has 2 image sensors, but similar to the Go 3, these are smaller than the large sensor of the Ace Pro. The X3 shoots in 5.7K, but if you want to get a standard video clip, you have to edit each shot and select the optimum framing. This in turn leads to a crop of the image, and the result of the reframing and your export is a significantly reduced resolution. If you don't feel like reframing and just need a quick shot, this is also possible with the X3 in 4K. But even in this case, the image quality is not fully comparable to the Ace Pro. That would be too good to be true. We've now seen the major strengths and weaknesses of all 3 cameras, and I've already shown you a number of comparison shots. But there are a few more shots I want to show you, because there are still a few surprising differences you should know about. Even though the Ace Pro certainly has the best image quality in this comparison, I would say that all 3 cameras take very nice shots, especially in good lighting conditions. The colors look good on all 3 cameras. But what is noticeable is that the Ace Pro produces the most contrasty look and emphasizes contrasts at the edges the most. The images from the X3 and Go 3 look a little softer overall. In low light conditions, the Ace Pro takes by far the best shots. The X3 in particular can no longer keep up here. You should definitely take this into account if you are thinking about buying one of these cameras. However, it is interesting to note that the X3 has by far the widest field of view of all 3 cameras. It is significantly wider than the field of view of the Ace Pro and the Go 3. And the field of view of the Go 3 is also wider than that of the Ace Pro, even if the difference here is not as great. This means that the Ace Pro has the smallest field of view in this comparison, although of course the field of view of the Ace Pro is not really narrow either, but corresponds to that of a classic action camera. And there's something else I find interesting. The X3 has the best stabilization in this comparison. Of course, this is also due to the extremely wide field of view, which is an advantage when it comes to stabilization. In a direct comparison with the Ace Pro, you can see that the X3 stabilizes the shots better, but the Go 3 also stabilizes the shots very well, and about as well as the Ace Pro. Stabilization is therefore not the weak point of the small Go 3. I think you now know the most important advantages and disadvantages of these three Insta360 cameras. To make your choice even easier, I have created 5 categories of users and will tell you which camera I think is the most suitable for each category. If you don't have an action camera yet and have hardly any experience with cameras, then I would recommend the Ace Pro. You certainly can't go wrong with it and you will be very satisfied. It's very easy to use, so it's easy to get started, and it produces excellent shots in the standard settings. The workflow is simple. You don't have to do any reframing and you can simply use the SD card to save your files to your computer. If you want to save some money and don't need the best image quality, the Go 3 could be a cool alternative for you. If, on the other hand, you already have experience with action cameras, do a lot of sport, film yourself frequently, and perhaps already have an older action camera, for example a GoPro, then take the X3. It opens up a whole new world of action shots. The reframing, the invisible selfie stick and the extremely wide field of view enable completely new, unusual and creative shots. It's simply fun to experience something new. If you are not interested in a 360 camera, I recommend the Ace Pro. No matter which older action camera you own, you will make a huge leap in quality with the Ace Pro, and the flip screen is extremely practical. If, on the other hand, you mainly make videos for social media, and by that I mean vertical videos for TikTok or Instagram rather than conventional YouTube videos, then take the Go 3. The image quality is perfectly sufficient for this, and the small form factor allows you to make fun and creative videos particularly well. It also has a square sensor and is ideal for vertical videos. The Action Pods flip screen is also great for vlogging. The Ace Pro would of course be an interesting alternative with better image quality, especially for vlogging. If, on the other hand, you do sports intensively and want to have an action camera to take the best possible shots of your sport, then for me the optimal camera depends on the type of sport and the mount you use. If you mainly film with a chest mount, for example when biking or skiing, then I recommend the Ace Pro. It is easier to mount on the chest mount than the X3, and on the chest mount the weight is not a negative factor. A 360 camera is of little use on a chest mount. If, on the other hand, you film a lot with the pole, then go for the X3. The invisible selfie stick effect and the wide angle are simply a decisive advantage here. Especially on a helmet, the Go 3 is also well suited. It weighs little and you can easily check the framing with the Action Pod. And for the family or as a travel camera, I would go for the Ace Pro. As I said, it's the easiest to use, and most importantly, you'll clearly take the best shots in low light conditions and therefore also indoors, which can be important when filming the family and also when traveling. As a purely fun camera, I would go for the Go 3 as an alternative. Especially without the Action Pod, it is very robust, almost impossible to break, can be mounted anywhere, and the quality is perfectly sufficient for family shots. As I said, you'll find a link to all 3 cameras in the video description. If you use the link, you'll usually also receive a free gift. If you want to know more about the cameras in this comparison, you can find several more videos and tutorials on all 3 cameras on my channel. I'll put links to the best videos in the video description. And give me a like as feedback if the video was interesting for you. There will be more videos about cameras from Insta360. So stay tuned and see you next time.